My name is Corinne Vale, 32 years old. 5 years ago, I walked away from my life in Seattle and never really got it back. I used to work as a graphic designer there, waking up to rain-smeared windows, coffee shops, and clients who thought logo color was the most dramatic thing that could happen in a day. Then my mother was diagnosed with lung cancer. Then she died. And suddenly, deadlines and campaigns felt like toys in a burning house. My father's name is Robert. He lives in a spacious 5-room colonial mansion in Westchester, the kind of house people slow down to stare at when they drive by. It belonged to my mother's parents, then to her, and eventually it was supposed to be the family home, the place all of us would return to for holidays and milestones. It became something else instead. After Mom got sick, I was the one who came home, not Ryan with his tailored suits and hedge fund stress, not Madison with her white coat and pharmacist salary. Me. I packed my life into 2 suitcases, left my apartment and my job, and moved back into the bedroom with the faded wallpaper I'd picked when I was 12. At first, it felt temporary, a pause, just until Mom's treatments were over, just until things stabilized. Then the treatments failed. The hospital bed came, and one day, she was gone. I stayed. Dad was hollowed out without her, eating badly, forgetting his medications, walking through rooms like he was trying to find something that wasn't there anymore. Someone had to make sure he didn't just slip quietly into that same void. That someone was me. I cooked his meals, sorted his pills, drove him to his appointments, reminded him to shower, reminded him to sleep, reminded him that the sun still rose and set whether we wanted it to or not. Ryan and Madison didn't see it that way. Ryan is 40 now, a financial analyst at some hedge fund where people pay him to worry about numbers. Madison is 38, a pharmacist in Oregon, always swamped, always on call. They rarely visited after Mom died. There was always a big project, an important meeting, a critical shift. But on the rare weekends they did show up, they made sure to deliver their opinions like subpoenas. "You're living here at Dad's expense," Ryan would say, standing in the kitchen he hadn't cleaned in years, wearing a watch worth more than my car. "Freeloading while we actually work." "You're wasting his savings," Madison would add, crossing her arms. "He's too soft on you. You're taking advantage of an old man." The truth was, I wasn't living off Dad at all. Years ago, I'd been smart with my own investments, a modest account that quietly generated enough monthly interest to cover my expenses. I paid my own bills, bought my own groceries, paid for my own car insurance. Ryan never wanted to hear that. "That's nothing," he'd scoff. "Pocket change. You're still draining Dad's resources just by being here." They criticized every decision I made about Dad's care. The physical therapy schedule, the diet, the medications, the home nurse I hired and then fired when she forgot his pills 2 days in a row. But they never offered to take a leave of absence. Never suggested he come stay with them. Never volunteered to handle even a week of what I did every day. The only person who seemed to see what was actually happening was Uncle Thomas, Dad's younger brother. He lived 3 hours away in Philadelphia, but he visited regularly, suitcase in hand, smile tired but genuine. He'd sit on the porch with Dad, talk about their childhood, and quietly slip me praise when we were in the kitchen. "You're doing the right thing," he'd tell me, squeezing my shoulder. "You gave up your life for him. That's not nothing." Ryan and Madison hated when Uncle Thomas visited. They'd magically develop other plans or leave early. They couldn't stand the way he called them out, how he told them directly that they were absent, selfish, and delusional for thinking I was the problem. 2 years ago, everything shifted. Dad's world and mine. He met Deborah at the rehabilitation center where he was doing physical therapy for his hip. She was 45, a physical therapist with an easy smile and glossy hair, the kind of woman who knew exactly when to laugh at his jokes and exactly how to touch his arm when he got frustrated with an exercise. They hit it off immediately. Within 6 months, they were married. At first, I was genuinely happy for him. After Mom died, I'd watched him sit at the kitchen table in the dark, staring at nothing. I'd heard him talk to the empty side of the bed for months. Then Deborah came in with her bright laugh and colorful scarves, and suddenly the house was full of someone else's perfume and chatter. She cooked. She organized. She made him laugh at TV shows again. For the first time since Mom died, Dad seemed light, human. I wanted to believe Deborah was an answer to prayer. But over time, her behavior shifted, slowly, like a knife turning. So gradually, you only realize it's cutting when the blood's already there. It started with casual comments. "This neighborhood is really something," she'd say while drying dishes. "Houses around here must be worth a fortune." Or, "I saw an article about property values in Westchester. You could sell this place and live like royalty somewhere warmer." Then came the hints about me. Every night, after Dad went upstairs to sleep, she'd find me in the kitchen washing dishes or sitting in the living room with a book. She'd lean against the doorway, arms folded, nails perfectly painted. "Don't you think it's time you got your own place?" "I'm here to take care of Dad," I'd answer carefully. "He has me now," she'd say with a smile that never reached her eyes. "He doesn't need you hovering over him. A woman your age shouldn't be living with her parents." "He's my father," I'd say. "I want to be here." She'd just shake her head, like I was being dramatic, and drift away. The comments kept coming, night after night. Uncle Thomas noticed, too. Whenever he visited, Deborah would magically remember an errand or an appointment. She'd vanish within an hour of his arrival, leaving us with a too bright, "I'll be back later." "That woman is up to something," he told me once as we watched Dad doze in his armchair. "I don't trust her." I wanted to believe he was wrong. I wanted to believe Deborah was good for Dad, that her fixation on the house and my living situation was just bluntness, not malice. But the signs kept piling up. About a month before Dad's 70th birthday, things escalated. Ryan started visiting more often. Not to sit with Dad or play chess with him like he used to. He spent his time in the study, with Deborah. I'd walk past and see papers spread across the desk, Deborah leaning over his shoulder, their heads too close. The moment I stepped into the doorway, they'd shuffle everything away. Close folders, minimize screens. "We're just going over some financial stuff for Dad," Ryan would say with a tight smile. "Nothing you need to worry about." One afternoon, I walked into the kitchen and saw something that froze me mid-step. Deborah was standing at the counter with Dad's medication bottles lined up in front of her. She wasn't refilling the pill organizer the way I did. She was swapping pills, tipping the prescribed ones into a small bag and replacing them with different capsules from an unlabeled bottle. I didn't say anything. I just watched from the doorway, heart pounding hard enough to make me feel lightheaded. Within a week, Dad changed. He became confused, sleepy, disoriented. He'd forget what day it was, trail off mid-sentence, stare at the wall for long stretches. He started shuffling instead of walking. "Your father is getting worse," Deborah said to me one evening, her face arranged in a mask of concern. "He might need professional care soon. A facility, somewhere safe." I knew exactly what she was doing. I just didn't know how far she'd go. While she was out one day, I went to the medicine cabinet. My hand shook as I opened the bottles she'd tampered with. I poured a few of the replacement pills into a small plastic bag and hid them in my room. Evidence. Dad's 70th birthday was coming. I'd spent months planning it. His favorite food, a photo album with memories of Mom and their life together. I wanted it to be special, a reminder that he was still loved, still wanted. But as I held that little bag of stolen pills in my hand, I had a cold, sinking feeling that Deborah had very different plans for that day. Deborah's behavior was getting bolder, and Ryan's visits were getting more frequent. It felt like they were circling something big, something planned. I just didn't know what, not yet. But then one afternoon, something happened that stripped away the last inch of doubt. Deborah left for the grocery store, keys jingling as she called up the stairs. "Be back soon." Her voice had that forced brightness she used when she was hiding something. As soon as the door closed, I exhaled. The house felt lighter without her in it. I walked into the kitchen to check the shopping list. That's when I saw it. Her laptop left open on the table, screen glowing. She used it for everything. Shared household accounts, bills, grocery budget, even scheduling Dad's appointments. Normally, she locked it, password protected, guarded it like it contained nuclear codes. But today it was open. I told myself I was just checking the grocery list. Really, I did. But as I sat down, my eyes caught a tab on the top left corner. Gmail. Deborah's personal account. Still logged in. I stared at it, pulse thudding in my ears. I knew I shouldn't click. I knew reading someone's emails was wrong. But the last few weeks played in a fast, dizzying montage. Dad's confusion, the swapped pills, Ryan whispering with her, her constant push to get me out of the house. And beneath all that, the heavy dread that I was missing something huge. My hand moved before my mind caught up. I clicked. Her inbox bloomed open. And the top email thread nearly knocked the air out of me. It was between Deborah and Ryan, my brother. The subject line was innocuous. RE, follow-up. But the messages were poison. I scrolled to the beginning. The emails went back 3 years. 3 years. Before Deborah ever accidentally met my father at the rehab center. The oldest message was from Ryan. Ryan, I found the perfect candidate. Wealthy widower, owns valuable property, lonely since wife died. You know what to do. My blood went cold. Deborah, how do I meet him? Ryan, I'll arrange a referral. You work at that rehab center. I'll make sure he ends up there for hip therapy. My jaw clenched. They planned the whole thing. Dad's rehab referral, their chance meeting, even her job at the facility. I kept scrolling, heart hammering like a fist. Deborah, once we're married, how do we do the transfer? Ryan, get the house in both your names. I'll handle the paperwork. Once it's done, we sell and split the proceeds. And then, another line that made my stomach twist. Ryan, what about the daughter? Deborah, she lives there. Ryan, we'll handle her. She's weak. We'll push her out. My whole body went cold. They weren't just planning to take the house. They were planning to erase me from my own family. And then, like a knife to the ribs, Deborah, miss you, baby. Soon, once we have the money, we'll disappear. Your wife will never know. I felt sick, actually sick. Ryan and Deborah, my married brother, my father's wife. They'd been lovers for years. The kitchen swayed slightly. I gripped the table to steady myself. I took screenshots. Every email, every thread, every timestamp. Sent them to my own email. Printed copies from the home printer. Shoving them under my sweater just as I heard Deborah's car pulling into the driveway. I barely had time to close the browser and position the laptop exactly as she left it. She walked in, humming, grocery bags in hand. Everything okay? She asked casually. Fine, I managed, my voice too tight. She didn't notice. But my heart didn't stop pounding for an hour. That evening, when Deborah was making tea in the kitchen and Dad was having one of his clearer moments, I found him in the living room. Dad, I whispered, I need to show you something. He looked up, confused but present. I handed him the printed emails. He read slowly as if each sentence weighed pounds. His face shifted, from confusion to disbelief, then to something almost like grief. This can't be right, he whispered. Deborah loves me. Ryan is my son. Dad, I said gently, look at the dates. Before she met you, before rehab, before everything. Ryan introduced her to you on purpose. He shook his head violently. No, you misunderstand. This must be about something else. He pushed the papers away like they burned. I wanted to scream, cry, shake him, but I could see the truth in his eyes. He wasn't rejecting the evidence. He was rejecting the pain of it. A betrayal like this was too big to process in one moment. I needed help. That night, when Deborah was upstairs blow-drying her hair, I slipped into the hallway and called Uncle Thomas. You need to come, I whispered. Please. Something's wrong. Something big. He didn't ask questions. He just said, I'll be there in the morning. He arrived at dawn, still wearing yesterday's clothes, coffee in hand. I showed him everything. The pills, the emails, Dad's decline. As he read, his jaw tightened, his hands shaking slightly. My God, he finally breathed. Your brother is a monster. I swallowed tightly. I need help. Dad won't believe me. I don't know what to do legally. Uncle Thomas rubbed his face, thinking hard, then nodded. I know someone. A lawyer. Jason Mitchell. Elder abuse specialist. A spark of hope flickered. Can he help? If anyone can, Thomas said, it's him. 2 days later, I sat across from Jason in his office, walls lined with neatly labeled binders, the faint buzz of fluorescent lights overhead. Jason was in his 50s, gray hair, sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. I put the evidence on his desk. Emails, pills, notes about Dad's symptoms, photos, screenshots, dates, timelines. He read silently for several minutes. When he finally looked up, his voice was steady. This is textbook elder exploitation, he said, and a conspiracy. What do we do? I asked, my voice trembling. He leaned forward. We build an airtight case, quietly. How? First, he said, we need to prove your father's cognitive state without the sedatives. We bring in an independent geriatric specialist, Dr. Patel. Okay. Second, we secure new legal protections. Power of attorney, medical directives, property signatures, everything. Dad won't believe what's happening. He doesn't need to, Jason said. He just needs to trust you. I nodded slowly. And third, I asked? Jason's voice dropped. We install hidden cameras in the common areas. Living room, kitchen, hallways, we get proof. Is that legal? I whispered. It's his home, he said. And you're protecting him. I exhaled shakily. Okay, I'll do it. He gave me a firm nod. Corinne, he said softly, people like Ryan and Deborah, They count on victims staying quiet. You're not going to be quiet. My hands shook, but not from fear, from resolve. The next week blurred into motion. Dr. Patel came when Deborah was out. He performed a cognitive assessment. Gentle, thorough. His conclusion was devastating and validating at once. Dad was competent. His confusion was chemically induced. I showed Dad the report, framing it as protective planning. He resisted, but Uncle Thomas spent an hour talking to him gently, brother to brother. In the end, Dad trusted us enough to sign. Medical power of attorney naming me and Thomas. Property documents requiring 2 signatures. A sworn statement that he wished to stay in his home. They were all legal, all binding, all superseding anything Ryan had tricked him into signing. Then I installed the cameras. Small, silent, hidden in bookshelves behind plants in corners. And within days, they captured everything. Deborah swapping pills, Deborah pushing Dad, Deborah calling him a stupid old wreck, Deborah on the phone with Ryan planning their move. I watched the footage with shaking hands. Jason's final instruction echoed in my mind. Wait for them to strike, then we strike back. Dad's 70th birthday was in 3 days. I could feel it. They were going to make their move. And this time, I'd be ready. The 3 months after Dad's birthday felt like waking up from a nightmare. Slowly, painfully, with shadows still lingering in the corners. But every day the house grew lighter, calmer. The fog around my father's mind lifted with each passing week, like a storm finally clearing after years of buildup. For the first time in a long time, he was himself again. Dr. Patel's blood test results arrived within days. The numbers were staggering. High, consistent levels of sedatives, medications never prescribed to him, lingered in his bloodstream. Enough to keep him confused for months. Enough to mimic early dementia. Evidence. Real, undeniable evidence. Jason submitted everything. Videos of Deborah switching medications and shoving him into his chair. The emails proving the affair. Records of Ryan visiting during crucial times. Proof of money siphoned from Dad's accounts. The prosecutor didn't hesitate. Charges were filed. Against Deborah, elder abuse, fraud, medication, tampering. She pleaded guilty to avoid prison, accepting a suspended sentence, probation, and a permanent restraining order that barred her from ever approaching Dad again. Her marriage to Dad was annulled due to fraud. She fled to Florida. No forwarding address. Good riddance. Against Ryan, his fall was even harder. Financial exploitation. Fraud. Conspiracy to commit real estate theft. His professional license? Gone. Career? Gone. Reputation? Shattered. And when Caroline learned about the affair, learned it had started years ago, long before Dad's rehab, she packed her bags, called her lawyers, and filed for divorce. Her attorneys were vicious. They demanded assets, alimony, everything they could take, and given his criminal case, she was likely to win nearly all of it. Ryan tried calling me once, just once. A voicemail filled with slurred fury. "You ruined my life, you spiteful." I deleted it without finishing it. Actions have consequences, even for the golden child. But among the ruins, something unexpected began to grow. Madison came back. 2 weeks after the birthday disaster, she and Andrew drove up from Oregon with tearful apologies and long conversations waiting to spill out. We sat at the kitchen table with cups of tea that went cold as she talked. "I was wrong about you," she whispered, eyes glistening. "All those years. I thought you were taking advantage of Dad. Ryan said—" She choked on the words. I believed him because it was easier than admitting I wasn't doing my part. I didn't let her drown in that guilt. "You weren't here," I replied gently. "You didn't see what was happening, but you're here now." Dad reached across the table and took her hand, his voice thick. "I'm glad you came back, sweetheart." That moment, the 3 of us sitting together, no yelling, no secrets, no accusations, felt like a healing I didn't know I needed. After that, Madison visited regularly. She called more, checked on Dad, asked me how I was doing. Slowly, we rebuilt something that had been broken since childhood. A sisterhood. Uncle Thomas kept visiting too, always with fresh pastries from his favorite bakery and enough warmth to fill the house. He sat on the porch with Dad every week, reminiscing, joking, making him laugh in a way no one else could. One afternoon, he sat beside me on the porch swing, both of us watching the sunset turn the colonial house gold. "I'm proud of you," he said, voice soft. "You saved your father's life." I didn't respond right away. My throat tightened too much. But I leaned my head on his shoulder, and he didn't push for words. Sometimes silence is the closest thing to truth. Once Rosa, the part-time caregiver, started coming 3 days a week, I finally had time to breathe, to think, to rebuild. I dusted off my portfolio, updated my resume, sent out a timid email to a company I'd always admired but never had the courage to approach. They hired me. A remote graphic design position for a tech company. Flexible hours, good pay, meaningful projects. For the first time in years, I wasn't just someone's caregiver. I was Corinne again, the version of me I thought I'd lost. 6 months after everything settled, Madison suggested something I never expected to say yes to. A trip. Specifically, Hawaii. Dad lit up like a teenager when he heard it. Hawaii, he whispered. Your mother. That's where I proposed to her, 45 years ago, on the beach near the old palm grove. So we went, just the three of us, Dad, Madison, and me. We walked along the white sand beach where he once knelt with a ring in his pocket. We ate at small restaurants with warm lantern light. We watched the sun sink into the ocean like a golden secret. Dad told us stories about Mom, not the ones we grew up hearing, but the kind he'd locked away out of love and grief. She would be proud of you both, he said one evening as we watched the waves roll in. Then he turned to me. Especially you, Corinne. You're just like her, strong, loyal, willing to fight for what matters. I cried, not because it hurt, because it healed. When we came home to Westchester, the house looked different. Not physically. It was still the same big colonial with creaky floors and ivy along the side. But the energy had changed. It felt like a refuge again. Not a battleground. Not a trap. Not a place where someone plotted behind closed doors. Just home. Now Dad and I sit on the porch every evening, watching kids ride their bikes and neighbors walk their dogs. He talks about Mom, about the old days, about the new ones he still wants to see. Madison visits often. Uncle Thomas never misses a week. Rosa comes with kindness and steady hands. And me? I'm working again, living again, breathing again. I gave up my career 5 years ago to care for my father. I almost lost him to people who saw him as nothing but a source of money. But I fought back. I protected him. And in the process, I found myself again. My father is safe. My sister is back in my life. My brother is facing the consequences he earned. And I finally have a future I'm proud of. That's my story, and I'm proud of how it ended.